This video is going to show us how to use some sort of decoration, and in this case we're going to be using piping to finish a hem edge and then apply a face piece. So the first thing that we're going to do is along the bottom edge of your area, or like your garment that you're going to be applying this to the bottom of, whether that be a pant, a skirt, or a short, or whatever, we need to first stitch this piping down. And I've cut the piping for you guys in class. It should extend just barely beyond the edges of the fabric. Now, what we need to do to stitch this down is we need to change our presser foot. So we're first going to stitch the piping, and then we're going to come back and apply the facing piece to this. So we want to make sure that the raw edges of our fabric are lined up, and then we want to use our zipper foot, and this is zipper foot E in your sewing supplies. There should be a plastic kit that is right near your sewing machine that has these extra feet in it, and it doesn't let me know, and I can probably scrounge one up. But what I want to do is I want to stitch right along, run this tongue, or the front nose of the zipper foot right along the edge of that piping, and it should work so that my raw edge is running along the right side of my presser foot, and then that nose is kind of running along the left side. So I'm just going to stitch all up and down this. And if you wanted to, if you think it would help you out, then you can always put a basting stitch in to hold everything in place, and then come back with your zipper foot and finish this. So let me just do a close-up of what we're doing here. Alright, what I did was I stitched real close to that piping, as close as I could, and then what we're going to do is we're going to take our hem piece, or our facing piece here, and we're going to want to apply some sort of hem finish or edge finish to the top side of the fabric. So if I were going to place my right sides together with my notches matching up, it's this edge that hasn't that won't be in any sort of seam. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a stitch in pink option, and so I'm going to take my zipper foot off temporarily, and then put my regular regular presser foot back on, and I always seem to get it caught in my clip area. I'm going to snap that back on, and then I'm just going to do a stitch, and then I'm going to pink it when I'm done with my whole sample. Just because I have my pinking shears are at school right now, so I'll do that as soon as I get everything together. So I'm just going to do a straight stitch right along the edge, about 1/4 of an inch in, and then I can come back and pink this later to make sure that this top edge is finished. And then the next step that we're going to do is make sure that we have our facing piece, and we want to match up those notches when you place right sides together. Alright, so I'm going to put just a couple pins in here. Put a couple pins in, lining up these raw edges. Alright, and then what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to bust out my hand sewing needle again. Make sure that you have a knot at the end. And we're going to do an even, like an even basting stitch, but we want to make sure that these stitches are fairly close together because we want to, what we want to do is we want to stitch between the zipper foot stitching that we put on there, because it's not as close to that piping as what we really would like. So what we're going to do is we're going to come in from the front side, and I'm going to push my needle starting up from the back, and I want my stitches that I'm going to be putting in, I want those to run right along that piping. And so what I'm doing is I'm just going to take my needle and do a very, I would say, narrow or short running stitch, just putting this this stitch line in right on top of where that piping is going to hit. Now you don't want to go down into the cord, so if you find yourself that you've gone into the cording a little bit, you want to pull back your needle and just readjust and re-put that in. Alright, I'm just going to run this along. Hopefully I can get a couple in now. And again, we want these to be fairly short because we're going to leave these in, okay? Just stitch as straight as you can all the way across. Alright, now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and stop the video because you guys don't want to watch me hand sew. But after we get this done, we are going to trim, grade, and do some notching into the seam allowance, and then press your hemming piece to the back side so that this piping will just stick out the bottom, and we'll do some understitching along that edge. So go ahead and finish doing your hand stitching, and then I would do some pressing and then come back in and do some clipping and grading, and just like I would trim and then grade and then just clip. You can do some small notches, but I wouldn't go crazy. I'll be back in a second.